The Buffalo Bills had some big names missing from Thursday's practice. Ed Oliver is still dealing with an ankle problem. The good sign is that he's no longer wearing a boot, but he's still not expected to play this week. Matt Milano also remains out with a chest injury, and he's not likely to return just yet. The player to really watch here is Spencer Brown. He's fighting a calf injury and also sat out of practice. His status is a huge question for Sunday's game. On the practice squad, Kendall Jenkins is still recovering from a leg injury he picked up in Week 3 against Miami. Before we continue with the latest Bills news, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, hit the like button, and press the bell icon so you never miss an update. Now, let's move forward. These injuries mean Buffalo may have to shuffle the lineup and rely on backup players. The big question is, how will the team handle these losses when it matters most? The Buffalo Bills are once again staring down a tough test with injuries piling up early in the season. Losing players like Ed Oliver and Matt Milano for another week is not what this defense hoped for. Both of them are core veterans who bring toughness and leadership, and their absence leaves major holes in the lineup. We've already seen the Bills adjust without them. In the Jets game, Milano barely played in the second half, and Buffalo turned to Dorian Williams and Joe Andreessen to fill the gap. Against Miami, Oliver's presence in the middle was clearly missed, but the Bills found ways to fight through with depth and rotations. Still, the situation on the defensive line is getting tricky. Over the past 2 weeks, Zion Logue has been called up from the practice squad to replace Oliver. He's done solid work, especially as a run defender, but here's the catch: practice squad players can only be elevated 3 times in a season. Logue has already been used twice, which means Buffalo can only bring him up one more time without committing a permanent roster spot. That creates a decision for the coaching staff. Do they save Logue's final call-up for a tougher matchup, like the Week 5 divisional showdown against New England, where his size and power could be crucial against a physical run game? Or do they keep leaning on him now and risk losing flexibility later? If the Bills choose to hold Logue back this week, another familiar face could step in: Jordan Phillips. He's not the same type of player as Oliver or Logue, but he knows this defense inside and out. Phillips brings energy, experience, and the ability to disrupt plays, even if he's not the classic run-stuffer. His return could provide exactly the kind of spark Buffalo needs to steady the middle of the line. Either way, the Bills are walking a fine line. Depth is being tested early, and every move feels like it matters more than usual. In a long season, these decisions, who plays now, who gets saved for later, could make the difference between holding strong in the AFC race or slipping behind. With Matt Milano still sidelined, the Bills' linebacker unit is under the microscope, and the way they've rotated players so far has been telling. Terrell Bernard continues to be the anchor, wearing the green dot and handling communication on defense. Against Miami in Week 3, he was on the field for every single defensive snap, 61 in total, proving once again that he's become the steady hand in the middle. Next to him, the Bills leaned heavily on Dorian Williams, who logged 46 snaps. Williams brings speed and energy, but he's still young and learning. To balance that out, Buffalo worked in veteran Shaq Thompson, who played 21 snaps. That might not sound like much, but his presence was felt. He came up with a couple of key tackles for loss and showed flashes of the player fans remember from his best years. Considering it was his first action of the season, that was an encouraging sign. What does this mean moving forward? It means Buffalo's depth at linebacker is being tested week by week, and so far, the group has responded. Bernard is the leader, Williams is the future, and Thompson is the steady veteran voice who can make plays in small doses. But the real challenge comes from the matchups they'll face. Tight ends have given Buffalo trouble before, and this week is no exception. The Bills' linebackers and safeties will have to keep a close eye on players who thrive in the short passing game. Checkdowns to tight ends and running backs are going to test discipline, communication, and tackling. This is where Thompson's experience and Bernard's awareness becomes so valuable. They'll be asked to cover ground, read the offense quickly, and make sure nothing slips underneath for easy yards. And while the Saints may not be an offensive powerhouse, every mistake in coverage can turn into a big gain if the Bills aren't sharp. For Buffalo, the formula is simple: stay disciplined, keep everything in front, and rally to the ball. If this linebacker group holds steady, it gives the defensive line more time to pressure the quarterback and keeps the secondary from being stretched too thin. The Bills' defense has already shown it can adapt without its biggest stars. Now the question is whether this linebacker rotation can continue to grow and hold the line until Milano is back. Among all the injuries Buffalo is dealing with, the one that could hurt the most this week is the calf injury to Spencer Brown. The right tackle is a crucial piece of the Bills' offensive line, and any setback here changes the protection plan for Josh Allen and the run game. Reports suggest the injury happened early in the Miami game. Brown appeared to take a kick to the calf in the first quarter but stayed on the field for every snap. That tells you how tough he is, but it also shows the risk. Sometimes a player can push through in the moment, only to feel the damage later. By the time Thursday's practice rolled around, Brown was unable to go. The challenge with calf injuries is that they're tricky. They can feel fine one day and tighten up the next. For offensive linemen, who put constant pressure on their legs, the risk of aggravation is high. That's why most teams, and Buffalo in particular, are extremely cautious. Losing Brown for one game is manageable. Losing him for several weeks because of a setback would be far worse. It's also worth noting which leg is affected. Brown's left calf is the one giving him trouble, and since he lines up at right tackle, that inside leg is critical for anchoring against bull rushes and setting a stable base. Even a small weakness there can make life much harder against top pass rushers. The Bills' medical staff and coaching staff will likely play it safe. The belief is that Brown could bounce back with rest, but there's no reason to gamble this early in the season. Buffalo has depth options who can step in if needed, and the priority is keeping the offensive line healthy for the long haul. If Brown sits, the spotlight shifts to the reserves. The Bills have shown confidence in their backups before, but replacing a starter of his size, power, and experience is never easy. This is where depth and coaching adjustments come into play. Protecting Josh Allen remains the top priority, and that responsibility could now fall on the shoulders of the next man up. If Spencer Brown can't go, the Bills have a trusted option waiting in the wings, Ryan Vandermark. Over the past 2 seasons, he's quietly built valuable experience, and the confidence around him is growing. Coaches and teammates alike have praised his preparation and attitude, and when he's been called upon, he's delivered. Back in 2024, Vandermark played nearly 200 snaps, proving he can hold his own on one of the league's stronger offensive lines. His role as Buffalo's swing tackle is critical, whether filling in on the left or right side, he has to be ready at a moment's notice. And by all accounts, he approaches every week as if he's starting. That mindset matters. Statistically, the numbers back him up. He's graded well as a run blocker in past seasons and has shown steady growth as a pass protector. Even in the limited action he's seen this year, Vandermark has been solid, earning positive marks in both phases. While the sample size is small, it's enough to show he's not overwhelmed by the responsibility. The good news for Buffalo, this might be one of the better situations to plug him in. The Saints are already short-handed on the edge, and without their top pass rusher, the pressure on Vandermark won't be quite as intense. That gives him the chance to settle in and protect Josh Allen without facing one of the league's premier threats off the edge. Buffalo's offensive line as a whole has been one of the strongest units in the NFL so far, and Vandermark stepping in doesn't change that confidence. He may not be a household name, but he's earned trust inside the locker room. If Brown needs to rest, the Bills believe Vandermark can step in and keep the offense moving at full speed. A.J. Epineza update on the defensive side. A.J. Epineza was limited in practice this week with a pectoral issue. While there's not much detail yet on the severity, the fact that he's been able to get on the field at all is encouraging. Epineza's presence as a rotational pass rusher adds valuable depth, and the Bills will be keeping a close eye on his progress as game day approaches. The Bills' defense has already been hit hard with injuries in the front seven, so losing A.J. Epineza would have been another big blow. Fortunately, it doesn't appear that will be the case. He's been limited in practice with a pectoral issue, but there's no indication from the coaching staff that he'll miss this week. That's a major sigh of relief. Epineza adds valuable depth as a pass rusher, and his ability to rotate in keeps Buffalo's defensive front fresh across 4 quarters. The better news is that the team might be getting closer to another reinforcement. Maxwell Harrison has been practicing again as he works his way back from injured reserve. This is the final week he's required to remain on IR, and if his recovery continues on track, he could be activated soon. His return would give the Bills more stability in the secondary, where depth has been tested early this season. Harrison's rehab has been careful and steady, and for good reason. His injury carries a high risk of re-aggravation if pushed too quickly, so the medical staff is being extra cautious. Even so, the fact that he's back on the practice field is a strong sign that his comeback is nearing.